This podcast is about to start in 3, 2, 1.
Do 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 do.
You've got a friend in me.
That was my line, but you know what? You do got a friend of me. In today's special episode of Minority Opinions Podcast, Hito, how are you doing today?
I am doing good. How are you, Ricardo?
I'm doing pretty well. I'm actually in a very cheery mood. I've, finished Toy Story 4 recently, and I've relived my entire childhood like you have in last week's episode with, Godzilla.
Right.
Today's episode, we're talking about Toy Story 4 and Aladdin, the newly released 2019, directed by Guy Ritchie.
Yeah.
As you can tell, Hito is very excited to talk about Aladdin,
Oh,
directed
yes.
by Guy Ritchie. How about, let's kick things off, Hito.
Wait, 1 second. I
What?
want to ask you something.
What's up?
Have you had matcha liquor?
Matcha liquor?
Matcha liquor.
No, but that sounds actually delicious.
I found this thing the other day at a liquor store, and then I think it said matcha presso, which didn't make sense to me, but it was like, it had
Matcha
a picture of traditional matcha, tea.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it had I think it said on the label, it had 14% alcohol.
14% alcohol.
Yeah. So I was intrigued.
Oh my
and it only
God.
cost about $5. So I was like, yeah, let's see how this one goes. And let me tell you something. It was one of the nastiest drinks I've ever had in my life. It was
You're not really
horrible.
a drinker, are you? You're not really a drinker?
I drank occasionally. I'm not like Nicolas Cage from Leaving Las Vegas, but
Oh my God.
I drink enough, somewhat. Yeah, but it was horrible. Horrible. Imagine a maple syrup, but
Delicious.
matcha flavored maple syrup, and you were drinking that out of a bottle. That's what it tastes like.
I try. I try it. I'm open to new alcohols, but the way you described it doesn't sound very delicious to me.
No, it was disgusting. I should have put some soy milk and mix it
Soy milk.
and make it like a matcha latte with alcohol in it. That would have been fine, but
A bit of honey too, maybe.
yeah, maybe. But it
Ooh,
was,
that sounds like a nice drink, actually.
yeah. But what I had, that was horrible. I'm not proud of a lot of things that this country makes, and this is definitely one of them.
To our American viewers right now, they're probably thinking, I want to try this now, but now we're certified. Nope, disgusting. By Hito, our good friend.
Until Starbucks purchases it and sells it over the counter, which
Oh my God.
could happen.
I previously worked there, and I can guarantee you that could possibly happen.
Yeah. Awful drink. Don't anybody who's listening to this and if you were intrigued by matcha liquor, that sounds delicious. No, it isn't. Stay away. Stay away from this travesty. Just
This travesty.
anyways.
So, Hito, you also mentioned the word travesty.
Yes.
What else is a travesty to you?
Aladdin 2019.
Directed by Guy Ritchie, of course.
Yeah, so here's the thing. I don't have the kind of emotional attachment that most people have with these classic Disney cartoons. I didn't grow up watching these movies. I've only seen a handful of these films. I think the ones I've seen so far are Aladdin, Tarzan, Dumbo, which I saw earlier this year, and The Lion King. I may have seen one or two more, but that's those are the only ones that could come to my mind.
That's good.
And I saw the original Aladdin for the first time a couple weeks ago before going into the live action, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a very entertaining animated film. Now I understand why so many people love Genie and Robin Williams as this character. And, I thought the animation was fantastic. It still holds up. I can't believe this movie is, what, 27 years old? Something like that.
Older than both of us, actually.
Yeah, older than both of us. And the songs were actually catchy and memorable, which is not something I would say with these Disney musicals. I'm not a big fan of Disney musicals, so this was surprising. There were a couple of songs that made me smile and tap my toes, and like, this is really fun. And yeah, none of that happened while I was watching Aladdin 2019.
So, in these new films, would you say that the original flair of the cartoon translated well to live action?
Not really. And that's one of the problems that I had with this film. I do, and with pretty much every single one of these Disney live action remakes that they've been doing for the past several years. I think there are some elements in the animated version that should be just left out. Like, you shouldn't make a beat by beat live action remake of a cartoon, because animation is built on the idea of surrealism. And with animation, you can do whatever the you want. You can you can defy the laws of physics, and it doesn't have to make sense. It's easy for us to suspend our disbelief with animation.
Okay.
Whereas in live action, in the human form, it's hard not to think about, wait, how is that possible? Why is that thing still a thing? There's like, you remember that scene from the original where Aladdin gets tied up in one of the, like, a huge metal ball, or what, it might have been an anchor.
They try to kill him by drowning him in the ice.
Yeah, dropping dropping him off a cliff, like pushing him from the cliff, and he just drowns, right?
Yeah.
They do that in the live action too.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they basically push him over, not a cliff, but off a building, and he's tied to a chair, and he falls. And the whole sequence is done in slow mo, and he goes and we see Aladdin just falling, and when he hit the surface, the water, I couldn't stop thinking, why is he still alive? Like, this building was about as high as the Golden Gate Bridge. And if you, like, some people don't know about this, but if you jump off from the Golden Gate Bridge, you'll probably die.
Right.
So I couldn't stop thinking, why is Aladdin still alive? That when he hit the water, his bones should have been shattered. His organs probably have exploded everywhere inside of his body. Yeah. But we still see him just going down, and I'm like, he shouldn't have been alive. Whereas in the animation, it's, you don't have to think about that stuff, because it's cartoon, it's not very realistic, it's a fantastical stuff, so it's easy for us to take that stuff in.
And since this film is directed by, Guy Ritchie, would you say that his style influences film, or is it more like another forgettable live action remake?
His style is nowhere to be seen. This just felt like it. The thing that never left my mind was that this feels like something that was made in a factory, like super fast, super just efficiently. Some Disney overlord shouting through megaphones, "Hey, you motherfucker, make this product as fast as possible so we can make money off of it." And
Mickey Mouse.
Yeah, Mickey Mouse just dropping F-bombs all the time. And yeah, you motherfucker.
Make it, and just like,
yeah, basically. So this movie could have been directed by anybody else, and I would have been like, oh, that guy directed it? Oh, that person? Huh. I didn't see any of that stylistic traits, because with Guy Ritchie, you get like, oh, hey, let's rewind that back a little bit so we can see what happened behind the scenes or whatever. And the movie, like a movie would literally go, and we see like things from like a couple scenes before, and it does that once, and it just came off as like really annoying tactic instead of like, ooh, that's a really cool stylistic thing. And there's also there is a lot of going from slow-mo to fast forward, the thing that he did with like a Sherlock Holmes movies.
Yeah.
This is corporate filmmaking at its most basic. Just it's expensive. Like you can tell that they put so much money into this, and the costumes are nice, and there are some nice CGI, but just it didn't have the charm or the magic of the original. It just it felt pointless, just no personality whatsoever.
It seems like this film is targeted toward people who love the original movie, and they're trying to target on the nostalgia rather than actually trying to have a new adaptation of this film. And it seems like, since you mentioned, oh, I'm not particularly emotionally involved with it, maybe it didn't strike you because the nostalgia factor didn't work on you.
Yeah, I that's that's a nail on the coffin. You just summed it up perfectly. Yeah, they're just trying to make more money off of nostalgia.
I'm pretty sure this film would probably hit me more, maybe because I'll be feeling like a kid in 1999 or something, but I'm not entirely sure since I refuse to watch these films.
Maybe like I'm maybe fans of the original, like as super hardcore fans of the original, might be more generous towards it because it's basically the same movie with some added stuff. But it's just, I don't know. It tries to do something interesting, like in terms of ideas. Like they throw in like a like discussion about class system and wealth, and it tries to make Jasmine a three-dimensional character, which completely fails in my opinion. Like to me, like Jasmine never really had much of agency in the animated version, but this one just makes it look like she's just an eye candy. She wears beautiful dresses, she dances well, she sings really well. Oh, by the way, Naomi Scott, fantastic singer. She's probably the best singer in the movie. When she went into like a musical bits, I was like, yes, more of this please, because she actually can sing.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It sounds like overall you didn't really, enjoy this film.
No. Oh, but there are some things that I enjoyed, Naomi Scott being one of them, and it looks pretty. But I gotta say, the best part of the movie was Will Smith. Because everybody, when they announced that they're gonna cast Will Smith as Genie, the internet flipped out.
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, everybody said it's the worst idea. I was okay with it because no one's gonna be able to replace Robin Williams. So if you're gonna do a live action version, they have to cast someone who's likable and charismatic and funny, and somebody who can bring people in. And I thought the casting of Will Smith was the perfect decision, and he was actually great. I loved him in this as Genie. I think he made this character his own, and the scenes that he's in are actually really funny. So the thing that everybody thought was going to be a terrible idea turned out to be the best thing in the movie. But the rest of the movie is just, I don't know, machine made, just a pointless, soulless, big budget movie. I think this is my least favorite Disney live action remake. This trend that they've been doing. I think this is my least favorite. I would rather watch Beauty and the Beast, which was rubbish. It's just rubbish. That movie is so stupid, but it was entertaining rubbish. This just felt
Of course.
like, eh. I loved Pete's Dragon, which not many people saw. I thought that movie was excellent,
Mm-hmm.
and I enjoyed Cinderella partly because it was pretty, but
Mm-hmm.
these live action remakes, they're not doing much for me, and I'm definitely not seeing The Lion King because it's just I'm not interested. Yeah, that was my very excited review of Aladdin. I hope you guys enjoyed it because I surely
You were
did.
bursting with you were bursting with energy and love for that
Yes,
film.
just full of energy, like Genie, Robin Williams Genie, not the Will Smith Genie.
Oh, I was like, you just bashed him for like a half an hour. Like, what do you want about?
Yeah,
Oh, and you're like Robin Williams. I was like, I
yeah.
got you.
I miss him, man. I just miss that dude.
All right. So on to our next film, we have Toy Story 4. Considering that it's the fourth Toy Story in the series, which is a weird thing to say,
Mm-hmm.
but overall, this movie is actually a fun time and actually had some emotional points that made me and my family almost cry in the theater. So, Hito, have you seen any of the Toy Story films?
Absolutely. The first movie that I ever saw was Toy Story, the first one on
Oh,
VHS.
wow.
Yes.
Same here. You know, typically, I think most people who are Pixar fans can agree that Toy Story, the first one, and two and three are one of like the most influential kid movies in like decades.
Yeah.
Like it's simple tale of two toys battling out to see who's the superior one is fantastic, and that story is kind of evolves over time to the second one, to the third one, and then surprisingly the fourth one, which I don't think either of us thought would ever be made.
Yeah, and I don't think anyone was really looking forward to it because Toy Story
Not me.
3, yeah, me neither, because Toy Story 3 had the perfect ending.
Yes. So then that was one of my fears regarding this movie. I was thinking, like, even as I walked in, I thought, do we really need one of these films again?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I thought they wrapped it up perfectly in the third one. They give the toys to Bonnie. I cry. My mom cries. Like,
Yeah,
perfect ending.
yeah.
But then after watching this fourth movie, I walked out of the theater thinking, that's a good, heartwarming ending. See, the thing with this film is, directed by Josh Cooley. It's his first film, so not much experience. But
Mm-hmm.
this film is a bit more mature than the
Mm.
past three, because this film, has Woody and the gang living with Bonnie, the young girl from the third movie, and Bonnie goes to kindergarten, and she's scared, so she makes a new toy named Forky,
Mm-hmm.
which an adorable character. I loved Forky, such an adorable character.
Mm-hmm.
And Forky gets lost somewhere,
Mm.
and the entire film is the gang trying to help out Forky and find him. Like, oh my God, it's Bonnie's toy. We have to go save him. So it's your typical Toy Story. We gotta go get him. And of course, there's always a villain in the movie. And I will say this movie, I will say it's the darkest of all the films.
I hear it has some scary bits.
There is some scary bits where some people are saying there are some toys in this film that are a bit creepy,
Mm-hmm.
because a large section of the movie takes place in an antique shop.
Mm.
And there are some toys that are a bit older. I'm not going to say which one it is, but there might be a toy from a certain TV show called Goosebumps that some people might know.
Mm.
But there is some, and I say this correctly, existential crisis ideas in this film,
Wow.
where there's a lot of ideas of the toys thinking like, what's my purpose in life? Do I have a kid? Do I have meaning? And I think that's where the strongest point of the film was at. Like, the story, it's a bit of a repeat maybe of the first and third one,
Mm.
where you have to go look for somebody and make sure they're safe.
Mm.
But what makes it a bit more mature than the other films is the direction it takes with the characters. Like, there is a character, she returns from she wasn't in the third one apparently. Bo Peep. She's
Yeah, Bo Peep.
yeah, she comes back as this like Rey character from Star Wars almost.
Oh.
They give her, I can't believe I'm saying this. They give Bo Peep agency in this film.
Mm.
And she is an interesting, there's a ton of new characters. Like Bo Peep, she's much more alive and breathing than other films. And they add a ton of other characters like there's Key and Michael Peele. I messed up their names
Key
probably.
and Peele.
Key and Peele. Key and Peele. They add what's the actor's name from Commando? The Carl Weathers.
Oh,
no,
yeah,
he's
yeah,
from
Carl Weathers.
yeah, Carl Weathers. He's a character for like maybe a scene or two in this film. Keanu Reeves as Duke Kaboom, Canada's greatest daredevil. Oh my god. There's a ton of characters in this film that they just liven up the entire movie. Like there's no character where I thought, oh, that was a waste of a character. Everybody had a specific personality. And they added a bit of backstory for each character, which, typically when you give backstory, it's like, oh, 2 minute scene, and it seems kind of unnecessary. This film, once you see that backstory, you're like, you know what? I get his character. I get it. I get why they have their motivation. It's a kid's movie, understanding, so it'll be a little bit more simple, but it's effective. But like Randy Newman came back to do his iconic like score again. Like he didn't do You Got in Front of Me, but he adds so much lively sound and richness to the score, where this film was almost like a melodrama in a sense,
in a good way.
In a good way, yeah. Like Mildred Pierce or like Imitation of Life, not like Lifetime movies.
Yeah.
Cause there are scenes in this movie where the score made me almost made me cry because of how effective the music was. It was used correctly in the most correct scenes of audio. And one thing this film does way better than the other ones is the visuals. Because Toy Story 1 came out in 1995?
Yeah.
Is that
95.
So when you look at that movie, some of the human characters and the animals look kind of outdated, like a bit scary almost. But in this movie, you see so much improvement. Like you see the plastic shine, you see the grass, like each individual blade. There's a scene, I'm pretty sure it's in the trailer. You see a cat stretching, and it looks like the most realistic cat Pixar has ever created.
Wow.
And it is insane how much years have passed, in those terrible Pixar sequels. But they use those films to excel at their, animation like skills, and it definitely shows in this film, especially in the rain sequences. There is rain in this film, and oh my goodness, the way the rain hits the plastic and the wool, it's mind-blowing how these Silicon Valley people just could make this in 3 years almost. I do wish, this is just a preference of mine, I do wish there was more of the original Toy Story gang together, like Woody, Woody's in the movie, but I wish there was more like Mr. Potato Head, Rip, his voice actor, the pig, Slinky, and all the other characters. That's fine, because we get this new introduction of these newer toys. But I thought overall this movie was super effective, and I think it's the perfect conclusion to the series. I still think Toy Story 3 is a bit superior than 4 emotionally because of how perfectly it wrapped up. But this film definitely has an ending where it makes you just want to give a big hug to your favorite toys and just say goodbye to your good friends, and teaches you to love everybody in your life, I do hope after Toy Story 4, as I did have the feeling during the films, like a few moments where I thought, please don't make any more. This is almost a perfect series of films, not even a perfect trilogy, a perfect series in general, like a saga almost. They should just box it up in a Blu-ray collection and put it out in Blu-ray. That's where it deserves to be, in every kid's shelf, and mine too, forever.
Well, that was a much needed, lovely review of Toy Story 4 from Ricardo. And now we are moving into this new thing we're doing. We talked about it in the previous episode, that we are going to watch a film that we both can see on streaming services, because I live in Japan and movies don't come here soon enough. We just figured out, hey, why not watch something that we are both interested and talk about it on a podcast. And what is this segment called, Ricardo?
We decided we're going to call this section a double feature. And that's where our audience in the booth is like, yeah, like little sinuses applause. The reason why we call it double feature is because, there's, two of us, and there's a feature that we both watch, so we can both discuss it. And there might be that one person out there that says, "Well, actually, pushes up glasses. Double feature means 2 movies." Yes, we know that,
Yeah.
but we're using it in a creative manner, in our own artistic liberty.
Exactly.
So today's double feature is which film, Ito?
It is a Japanese film from 1952 called The Flavor of Green Tea Over Rice.
Directed, of course, by our lovely director.
Yasujiro Ozu.
Well, I was introduced to Ozu in film school, and it's interesting because when Ozu was like in his quote unquote prime, when he was making his films, it was right after the war, and that was when America was occupying Japan. So a lot of his films involve changing ideals in society regarding the family archetype, where you have this typical Japanese family, and there's always that one character that is like diverting from family tradition. Typically, Ozu films have the same plot almost, where there's always a niece not wanting to get married in an arranged marriage, and then there's some spark in the family that causes more drama. And that's typically most of his films, typically, not all of them.
Yeah, that's pretty much how his films go. And yeah, like you said, it's dealing with the ideological clash between 2 different generations. I also think a lot of his movies are very feminist.
Yeah.
And so many of his female characters have agency and the kind of depth that you don't really see in most Japanese movies from that era.
Like a lot of his films deal with these female characters who are deciding like, oh, I don't want to get married to this person, I want to do this. Or they could always say, oh, I don't know what I want, which is that's fine. Which typically and these films are a bit existential almost, where there's that idea of like, what's next, or will my family ever survive, or like, am I gonna be somebody one day? And that's that's a freedom that these women are given in these films. And that's usually how the female characters like talk. They talk about like, what do you want to do, or what do you want? And then the girl says, I want to do this, I want to do that. And that's usually what causes the drama within these films. And this film, you may think, why is it called The Flavor of Green Tea Over Rice? And that idea, kind of awkwardly put into the film, isn't told until the end of the film, actually.
Yeah.
Because this entire film, like in typical Ozu film, there is a niece who is arranged to get married. And then I believe her aunts take her to a spa and they discuss the ideas of marriage. And this film directly talks about the idea of marriage and what it means to be married.
And what marriage means to traditional Japanese society. That's where the niece character comes in. She is the more modern one, and she goes, well, I'm not gonna try to marry someone that I don't like. I fuck this system. So it's the and then her her aunt and the niece just have arguments over, well, you are not right, this is the right way, and well, that fuck your ideals. So that goes on for a little bit, which
I think the niece mentions that the arranged marriage is a bit primal. That's what it said in the American translation, like English. It said, oh, this is so primal, or tribalism, I think.
Yeah.
Something like that, which is interesting because so you have this evolution of family and what it means to be a Japanese family in this film. And there's small hints of like American culture kind of like infiltrating.
And one of the things I liked about this film is the way Ozu treated the main sort of patriarchal figure, I guess. Like,
typically in these films, you could just say the father, because it's always the father, the mother, the aunt, the niece, the kid.
Yeah.
So the dad, at first he comes off like this typical masculine man. Like, I need to provide for my family. I need to make sure my niece is getting married, and I need to make sure she gets a man's touch. I provide. My wife needs to be happy. But throughout the film, you see the wife slowly dismantle his masculinity, and you see a point where he's a bit vulnerable to
Yeah,
his wife.
and he also listens to the niece character, which is,
Shocking.
yeah, very shocking considering the time
Shocking.
period. Yeah, and he like there's a lovely scene at the there's this gambling joint that's pretty popular in
Mm.
Japan. I don't know how to describe it, but basically there's a gambling joint in Japan where they put like a bunch of machines, like the kind of machines that you normally play in like Vegas or something.
Yeah, it's like a carnival game almost.
Yeah, yeah. And there's a lovely scene in that gambling joint where the main male figure and the niece character discuss, the traditional values and how she doesn't want to, just follow this.
Traditional values, like this family values.
Yeah, and he slowly takes in and he starts to realize, maybe, this is not the way the society should go. My ideal might not really be the best for these young people, and that kind of transition in character is very rare considering the time period. And even in Ozu films,
Hmm.
like so many of these elderly patriarchal figures just stick to their ideals. No, you are wrong.
Yeah.
Women should stay in the house and take care of the kids while men go out there and work. But this
Yeah.
character in particular was more flexible to that sort of ideological transition in the society.
And I think in this film too, you have it's a bit hard to describe, but both characters seem to be more open minded to each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think that's something that Ozu does very well. Like he's not saying you should believe in this, but you should consider it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because there are some values that the father has, he some ideas are correct, like, oh, you need to establish who you are and be married to somebody who you actually care about.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to do that, then you should. And then the niece says, oh, well, you should be more outgoing, be more open, show people who you really are, not, you don't have to put on this image. And both characters kind of share these values,
Mm-hmm.
and it kind of teaches you to be more empathetic to people.
Yeah. Yeah. This is such a lovely film.
When did it come out? You said
52, I think.
52, almost 70 years old, and it still is a bit feels a bit relevant right now.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the strength of Ozu films. Like you think that these, old stories from Japan, like there's no way this can be relevant to our current society, but it's still pretty relevant. It deals with a lot of things that we are still facing, and maybe I like these kind of movies and stories that deal with these themes because I'm from Japan and I recognize the social structure and the familiar structure.
Hmm.
But I think his movies and this movie as well work on like so many levels,
Hmm.
even to the international audiences who know nothing about Japanese culture.
I think this film, maybe in another few years or even in 10 years, it's still going to feel very relevant. Like these films don't feel that outdated because there's no
Hmm.
internet, there's no cell phones, but
Yeah.
there's hardly mentioning of technology in the film. Everybody's taking
Hmm.
trains, there's airplanes. Is this the first Ozu film to mention an airplane? Like someone actually traveling using an
Um,
airplane?
Maybe, yeah.
So
That might
a lot of
be.
themes of traveling and a lot of themes of like time passing. It's always going to be relevant, and I think
Hmm.
that's what makes Ozu's films like apex. And to both of us is like you're always going to watch these movies and think like families are always going to change. There's always that fear of, is my son going to be the way I want to be, or my daughter is going to be the way my wife is, or my husband is? Like,
Hmm.
how is
Hmm.
time going to evolve for society? And I think that's what makes this movie so relevant and powerful even today. If I could summarize it in one word, I'd say this movie is cozy.
It is very cozy.
Because when I watched this movie, I was sitting down, I had a cup of coffee, I was holding my Chihuahua, and this the film's score of like the traditional violin, like kind of like melodrama. It kind of like soothes you in, relaxes you. They show. I mean, they don't show you the houses, but like they show you the inside of the apartments. I'm assuming, and you hear these people like discuss their lives, and it feels cozy.
Yeah.
Hearing people talk about their lives. That sounds weird, but that's voyeurism for you. But it's just the simplicity of the film is very endearing and very relaxing.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
It's just a cozy movie overall, and I love it right now.
Yeah.
The more we discussed it, the more I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, snuggle up in your blankie and watch this movie. It's a wonderful time, I think.
Mm-hmm.
You've got a friend in me. You've got a friend in me. I don't know the rest of the lyrics are because I saw these movies in Japanese.
All right, so that was Minority Opinions podcast. Hito, what are we reviewing next week?
Well, we are gonna be talking about this certain teenager in a rubber suit movie called Spider-Man Far From Home. I get to see this movie earlier than most of you because I live in Japan and they decided to release it this Friday. So I am so excited.
This will be the first released movie that both Hito and I will be talking about.
Is it? No. We did Godzilla.
Oh, that's true. Oh yeah, that's a rare case though.
Yeah.
We're on a third episode too, so
And maybe you'll try to catch Midsummer.
I will definitely try to catch Midsummer. All right, Hito. Well, thank you for being a splendid host.
Yeah, thank you for being a lovely co-host, and thank you for your wonderful review of Toy Story 4.
And I have to thank our lovely audiences who have stuck by us since episode 1.
Yeah, so thank you to everyone who's been listening to this podcast. We are having a blast with this. We are on, please rate us, I guess, and follow us on SoundCloud and Spotify, and an exciting announcement.
Now,
we are on Google Play Music.
Google Play Music for you people who have distinguished taste in streaming platforms.
Yes, and please do whatever you can to support this channel. Give us 5-star reviews or whatever. Just do whatever you can. And yeah, I guess we will see you guys next week.
All right. Thank you all, and thank you for listening to Minority Opinions podcast. Bye-bye.